The delivery of R211As is beginning to have an effect on the system. R46s 5894 to 97 and 6186 to 89 were shifted from Pitkin to Coney Island on March 19th, marking the first consist to be shifted. Later on, 5890 to 93, 5946 to 49, 5986 to 89, 6010 to 13, 22 to 25, 46 to 49, 6106 to 09, 6142 to 45, 6170 to 73, 86 to 89, 6190 to 93, and 6202 to 05 were also shifted from Pitkin to Coney Island. This is 52 cars in total, or 6.5 trains. 5986 to 5989, 6142 to 45, and 6170 to 73 were sent back to Pitkin for temporary service before they were retired or sidelined, while 5978 to 81, 6038 to 41, and 6178 to 81 were sent to Coney Island. In equal trade, Coney Island now has 52 ex-Pitkin R46 cars in total, or 6.5 trains, listed here. This has allowed for a significant expansion of Coney Island Yard's spare factor, allowing them to maintain their R46s a bit better. This was done to expand Coney Island's spare factor to give more R46s a chance to rest, as well as to retire the most effective R46s currently at Coney Island. In total, Coney Island now has 5 more R46s than they used to. R46s 5910 to 13, 30 to 33, 5970 to 73, 6138 to 41, and 6166 to 69, 20 cars were retired at Pitkin. These were the first R46 cars to be retired by R211As as of June 8, 2024. Of course, you remember the fact that the first 11 to 13 R211As, 4060 to 4189, were implemented to replace the missing R32s. The R32s, of course, were cleared off MTA property to make way for the new R211As. So these two fleets do have a relationship to each other. Later on, R46s 5914 to 17, 5962 to 65, 74 to 77, 5998 to 6001, 6006 to 09, 6094 to 6101, 6152 to 53 with 6207 to 06, 6158 to 61, 6182 to 85, 6208 to 10, 6224 to 26, 6238 and 6248 to 50. 48 cars were retired between June 8, 2024 and January 10, 2025. 68 cars in total at Pitkin Yard specifically, as well as R46s 5810 to 13 from Coney Island, later followed by 5790 to 93. Adding on to 5550 to 53, which was already retired due to the 36th Street incident. The R46 retirement pace began quickly picking up throughout June and July, and has been in full force ever since. The most recent R46s to be retired were 6152 to 53 and 6207 to 06, which were retired on January 10, 2025. On July 10, 6152 to 53 and 6207 to 06 were removed from service. However, they returned from the dead on November 11th, re-entering service on the A line, and getting the chance to traverse the 2nd Avenue subway on November 16th. However, it was retired again on January 10, 2025, this time for real. R46s 5918 to 21, 5950 to 57, 5986 to 5993, 6026 to 29, 6066 to 69, 6090 to 93, 6126 to 29, 6174 to 77, 6228 to 30, and 6244 to 46. Enough cars for 11 300-foot trains were sent to Coney Island on January 3, 2025. It was presumed that these R46s would be prepped up to run on the G line, but it isn't clear at this moment. Also, R46s 5938 to 41, 6054 to 57, 6074 to 77, 6130 to 33, 34 to 37, 42 to 45, 6216 to 18, 6220 to 22, 6232 to 34, 6240 to 42, 52 to 54, and 56 to 58 are also out of service, but they can be used if necessary, with some of these actually pending reactivation. But apparently 92 R46 cars, or 11.5 trains, have been affected by the R211A order so far, with about 100 R46s in normal condition having been affected by this delivery, with most of them having been retired. 584 R46s remain in service, with 436 cars, or 54.5 trains, being at Coney, and 148 cars, or 18.5 trains, being at Pitkin for the A and C. Now, each yard likely has half of a train set as a spare. Now 5564 and 5682 were sent to Concourse Yard on December 10th for wheel truing. 6146 to 49 and several other R46s have had this procedure done and have subsequently returned to service. Also, as a result of the R46 shifts to Coney Island, R68s 2768 to 83 were moved from Coney Island to Concourse as of September 26 and before, increasing the count from 33.5 to 35.5 D trains. The R68 and R62A trip discontinued as of July 2024. This was due to the summer pick of 2024, which began on July 1st. The B got an extra service extension to Bedford Park Boulevard, being able to run there between 5 a.m. and 7 p.m. Some trips would terminate at Kingsbridge Road, while some would terminate at 145th Street, but the majority of B trains would now no longer use 145th Street as a midday terminal. The 8:28 a.m. B train that terminated at 145th Street would turn into a Far Rockaway bound A train at 6:47 p.m. This was no longer needed now, especially due to the immense progress of the R211A delivery, providing more than enough trains for the A to use. The R68 or R62A train is now a thing of the past. My last time seeing it was on June 11, 2024. However, it didn't come down in service, even though I was anticipating it to. Then they just stopped prepping up sets altogether. They used to store them at 135th Street and Dykeman Street. Then ironically, on August 11th, we saw an R68A on Brighton, as Sheepshead Bay signed up as an A. A 10-car R179C train, 3273 to 77 and 3019 to 15, ran on October 31st. Credit to Shamari for the catch. 4 R32 cars, 3360 to 61 and 3352 to 53, were shifted from Coney Island Yard to the New York Transit Museum on October 29th or before, while 3354 to 55 was slated to join the other R32 movie train cars as of October 29th. After it had moved around some of the preserved pairs, 3351 to 50 and 3361 to 60. On December 26, 6 R32 cars were brought to the 36th or 38th Street yards to be scrapped. 3430 to 31, 3400 to 01, and 3376 to 77, being transferred by rider cars and engines. These cars came from Pitkin Yard. Then 4 more R32 cars were brought to 36th or 38th Street Yard on the same day. 3670 to 71 and 3781 to 3780. They're slated to go to 65th Street Yard and then be sent off to scrap at Sims Metal Management. 10 R32 cars were prepared for scrap in one day. There is one last R32 consist left at Pitkin, that being 3621 and 3644. A 2-car consist. Now, referring to this list, 16 R32s have been preserved, 6 cars are left at 207th as shunting motors, 2 are at Coney Island for FD&Y training, 2 are at Staten Island Railway for work service, 2 are stored at Coney Island, 6 are stored at Concourse, and 1 car, 3699, is stored at 38th Street, and then 2 are stored at Pitkin, 4 at 207th, and 14 at 36th or 38th Street yards for scrapping. 7 R32s are off of MTA property, listed here. 94 cars were sent to Ohio, while 86 cars were sent to Sims Metal Management in New Jersey, while 55 R32s remain on MTA property, and 35 will be retained by New York City Transit to be preserved. Credit to the NYCT subway tracking server for this information. Adding on to this, we marked 3 years since the R32 retirement run, January 9th, 2022. It's crazy it's been 3 years already. Wow. That retirement run was spectacular, by the way. From November 4th to November 18th, we experienced a revolutionary G.O, which shook up IND and BMT service over nights and weekends. Due to switch replacement at 59th Street Columbus Circle, A trains ran from Lefferts or Far Rockaway to 96th Street 2nd Avenue, via Fulton and 6th Avenue locals and via 2nd Avenue. This was the first time that A trains had ever ventured up there, allowing for very interesting fanning and photo opportunities. The C was suspended, the D ran from 34th Street Herald Square to Coney Island, and from 145th Street to Norwood. The E train ran normally, the F ran normally, the Q ran from Times Square to Coney Island, and the 3 was extended from 42nd Street to 14th Street overnight to assist with service flow. On the first night, November 4th, R179s and R211As touched 2nd Avenue subway for the first time. R211As 4305 to 09 and 4325 to 29, where the first R211A consists to make the journey up to 96th Street 2nd Avenue on the A train G.O. on November 4th. One of the newest sets at the time, 4364 to 4360, with 4084 to 4080, was signed up as a Q. I mean, hey, that's cool. If it looks like a Q, talks like a Q, and quacks like a Q, then it's a Q to me. R211As were signed up to various different programs. Some said A to Chambers, some said A last stop, some said G, some said M like the one I caught, some said N, Q, R, W, and other cool signage. R46A trains merely displayed to 96 Street. R179s had glitched out announcements because the sound file was too small, making it sound like a chipmunk was saying the announcement. An R179A train was even sent to 21st Street Queensbridge by accident on November 17th. This pair was 3020 to 24 and 3252 to 48, which was caught by notme.com. This G.O. was repeated again on nights between December 30th to January 3rd and January 6th to January 10th, this time with corrected R179 announcements. During the weekends of January 3rd to 6th and January 10th to 13th, the A would run in two sections, between 207th and 125th Streets, and between 42nd Street, Bryant Park, and Queens terminals. Just like in the federal government, there was a president swap. Richard Davies stepped down on June 18th and was replaced by Demetrius Critchlow on October 23rd. Here's a list of some of the shuttles introduced last year. Here's a list of some of the wraps which took place last year. And last but not least, here's a list of some of the Metrocars which were dispersed last year. Initially, back in February of 2024, many of us thought that the Metrocar was going to be discontinued as of January 31st, 2025, because that was the expiration date that was being printed on several of the Metrocards. However, with these limited edition Metrocards, the expiration date was extended up to February of 2026. So it is possible the Metrocard will be sticking around a little bit longer, which is good news for me, because I like the Metrocard. Even though I ended up buying an OMNY card on August 5th, because the MTA robbed me 3 times in August from my Metrocard because it had a small bend in it, so I lost quite a lot of money over that. So I ironically ended up making a switch to OMNY before one of the members of Zack and Night Eagle, who shall not be named. On December 9th, the very last rollout of limited edition Metrocars were announced. They were Instagram Metrocars from New York Nico, Subway Takes, and Overheard New York, which were featured at Fordham Road, 125th Street on the 2 and 3, Penn Station, Grand Central, 14th Street Union Square, Essex Street, Fulton Street, Jamaica Center, Sutphin Boulevard, Court Square, Bedford Avenue, and Atlantic Avenue Barclay Center. These Metrocars had the expiration date of February 28, 2026, which is the presumed discontinuation date for all Metrocars in general. If confirmed, this means that OMNY will officially take over by March 2026. On December 18, 2024, it was also announced that the MTA will be enacting a 4% fare hike in August 2025, as part of its nearly $20 billion budget for the year, raising the fare again from $2.90 to $3. So hopefully this, combined with congestion pricing which just went into effect, can be enough to fund the MTA's newest planned projects. So the $2.75 fare lasted for 8 years, from 2015 to 2023, while the $2.90 fare lasted from 2023 to 2025, and the flat $3 fare will be the standard going forward. My $3 OMNY Fortnite also, after several delays, student OMNY cars were finally rolled out in September of 2024. New turnstiles were added at the following stations to reduce fare evasion: Kingsbridge Road on the B and D, East 180th Street on the 2 and 5, 125th Street on the 2 and 3, 42nd Street Port Authority Bus Terminal, Delancey Street Essex Street, Bowling Green, Flushing Main Street, Forest Hill 71st Avenue, and Crown Heights Utica Avenue. That's in addition to the new turnstiles and fare gates added to places like 34th Street Penn Station, Sutphin Boulevard, Astoria Boulevard, and Atlantic Avenue Barclay Center. OMNY machines have been popping up all over the place. I mean, just take a look at this map of all the places where you could get OMNY cars throughout the city. Wow. R33 main lines 9068 to 69 were repainted to their red livery on November 7th. Being swapped out from green to red. Then a 6-car consist was present on the 7 line on November 9, 2024. This consist being 9586 to 87, 9543 to 42, and 9068 to 69. It was present on Flushing for a movie shoot, giving people many good opportunities to see a Redbird back on Flushing. R179s at Jamaica. On December 1st, an R179 from East New York Yard ran on the M for the very first time. This consists being 3061 to 3058 and 3118 to 3121. On December 10, 2024, a 10-car R179 consist was shifted from Pitkin to Jamaica Yard, the consist being 3020 to 24 and 3248 to 52. 3020 to 24, was later swapped out for 3288 to 92. Then the new 10-car Consist returned to Jamaica on December 17th and entered service on the F on December 18th the next day. Its first trip took place on December 18th at 5:16 p.m. from Jamaica 179th Street to Coney Island. R179's first touchdown on the E on January 6, 2025, with my friend Zach Transit catching a Consist on his first day. The first two Consists to operate on the E were 3272 to 68 with 3313 to 17, and 3238 to 42 with 3327 to 23. 3014 to 3019, 3045 to 3049, and 3243 to 47 were also moved to Jamaica. So in total, 4.5 R179 trains or 45 cars are currently at Jamaica, listed here. That leaves 8.5 R179A trains at Pitkin, or 85 cars, listed here. We had a few interesting fan trips. The Reign of the Redbirds happened on November 4th, 2023. On May 28, 2024, the New York Transit Museum announced these yearly fan trips. The annual baseball trips took place on April 5, 2024, the same day that a surprise earthquake struck New Jersey, which was felt throughout parts of New York. That trip featured a low V and a full-length Redbird this time, with the Consist being listed here. We had the July 20th R1 and R9 trip to Coney Island and the August 11th R1 R9 excursion to the Rockaways, this time without the R32. This was the first time in 3 years that the R32 was not present for the Rockaways trip. That was because the R32 was prepped up to do a 60th anniversary excursion trip on September 14, 2024. The Consist which ran was comprised of 6 cars, 3888 to 89, Phase 2 consists 3350 to 51 and 3361 to 3360, which ran between 96th Street, 2nd Avenue and Coney Island, non-stop via Broadway and Brighton. 3350 to 51 was quite unique because that was the first time we've seen this Phase 2 consist in years. A 4-car low V commemorated the New York City subway's 120th anniversary on October 27th and November 16th by running up the 2 line and down the 4 line, then returning up to 239th Street Yard once it was done. Lastly, we had R1 and R9 Nostalgia Rides take place on Sundays in December, from 96th Street 2nd Avenue to 2nd Avenue on the V. They announced these trips on November 24th. On November 23rd, an R160 F train 9167 to 63 and 9577 to 73 was rerouted to Euclid Avenue due to a switch problem at J Street. As previously mentioned, the 63rd Street Fixation project was wrapped up on April 1st. With that, the M was able to return to Queens Boulevard to assist the R once more, while the F returned to 63rd Street, eliminating the shuttle. No more M to 57th. It was fun while it lasted though, and I'm sure it was nostalgic for many to see the E and F both run via 53rd Street again. Many, self-included, liked the change a little too much. With the construction being finished, things returned to normal, and whatever loans were still on the C, R160s and R179s, returned to East New York, and the Q94 and 95 ceased to exist, leaving the Stengel Next Gens in danger. However, nothing happened to them, so forget about that part. In fact, their fleet total only got larger. Lastly, RIOC suspended their temporary additional service program due to this, as it was no longer necessary. As a byproduct of the work done on the 63rd Street Tunnel, apparently several Jamaica R160s have developed flat wheels. As a result, on January 3rd, 2025, a few Consist of R46s listed here were apparently moved to Coney Island Yard and allegedly reserved for G train service, totaling 11 4-car trains or 300-foot-long trains. However, because these R46s have to be inspected, the G used a fleet of 4 R68s and 8 R68As from both Concourse and Coney Island instead, with one R160 9928 to 9932 remaining in service. It was quite amazing to see R68s and R68As on the G line again. It felt like my old high school days at Brooklyn Tech, and I really enjoyed it. Fantastic occurrence. Definitely want to enjoy this a bit more before the R160s get fixed up, paving the way for Crosstown CBTC to be activated between 2027 and 2028. The reason why the R160s were extracted from the G was in order to increase the spare factor for the E, F, and R, while some of their R160s get fixed up. An R160B Siemens set was present on the N line on April 29th. R160B Alstom's 8707 and 8757 ran on the Q on March 29th. Credit to MTA Train Productions for telling me about that. On December 6, 2 mixed R160 Alstom Siemens consists were sent to 207th Street Yard, 9037-33 with 9112-08, and 9593-97 with 8987-83. Meanwhile, a couple R160s were sent to Concourse for wheel truing on December 10th and 12th, as some other consists had also experienced 8898 with 9452 and 9368 and 9698. Oh, it all makes sense now. That is why they've been going to these yards for wheel truing, because the 63rd Street Tunnel has been messing up their wheels. So this has been an issue a lot longer than we actually knew about, and only now is it beginning to have enormous detrimental effects on the system. R160B pilot sets 8713 to 17 returned to service on December 23rd after heavy maintenance at Coney Island. More R142s continue to receive LED signage. 6736 to 40, 6801 to 05, 6811 to 15, and 7126 to 30 now have LEDs, increasing the total of LED-equipped R142s to 37 cars. R142 7126 to 30 were shifted to Jerome Avenue Yard for 4-line service on November 18th. This marks the first 5-car R142 at the yard with LEDs, as 7171 was only a single unit which had them before. R142As 7621 to 25 and 7641 to 45 returned to Jerome after being at Pitkin Yard for brake testing between January 10th and December 13th, 2024. 103rd Street on the B and C experienced a water main break on November 27th. Just look at the footage. That was pretty bad. R62s were present on the 2 on April 13th and on various weekends in early September, due to a G.O. which severed the 2 into 2 sections, Wakefield and 3rd Avenue 149th Street, and between Harlem 148th Street and Flatbush Avenue. R62s 1496 to 1500 and 1516 to 1520 were returned to the 3-line on September 28th. This leaves only one R62 consists on the 1 line, that being 1351 to 55 and 1330 to 26. R62As 1826 to 30 were moved to Westchester Yard for 6-line service, and debuted on the 6th line with 1996 to 2000 on June 14, 2024. R62As 1896 to 1900 returned to service on the 1 line on June 21, 2024, after being out of service for over 2 years. R62As 2411 to 2415 returned to service on May 14, 2024, 4 months after its accident at 96th Street. Meanwhile, 2177 to 2180 returned to service with single unit 1934 on March 29, 2024, returning from the same accident. On April 24th, R142 consists 6641 to 45 and 6711 to 15 were temporarily given to East New York for a movie shoot. They were spotted at Canal Street on the J, signed up as a 3 on April 24th, as well as spotted at Bowery. They then shifted to Coney Island Yard on April 25th, where they were spotted at Church Avenue, signed up as a 4. Then they were spotted on the Culver Line on April 25th, and then on West End on April 26th. Quite the expedition. In the second quarter of 2024, 13 stations received ReNewVation. Harlem 148th Street on the 3, Eastchester Dyer on the 5, 116th Street on the 6, Beach 90th and Beach 116th Streets on the Rockaway Park Shuttle, Bay Parkway on the F, Flushing and Greenpoint Avenues on the G, Gates Avenue on the J, 18th Avenue on the N, Grand Avenue Newtown, Prince Street on the R, and Franklin Avenue on the Shuttle. 14 stations were renovated in the third quarter of 2024. Those were 233rd Street and Winthrop Street on the 2, 51st Street on the 6, High Street and Grant Avenue on the A, Roosevelt Island and Avenue P on the F, Court Square, Metropolitan Avenue, Classen Avenue, and Clinton Washington Avenues on the G, Knickerbocker Avenue on the M, and Botanic Garden and Park Place on the Franklin Avenue Shuttle. On March 31st, the 7 ran as the Super Express. 82nd Street and 111th Streets reopened as of April 19th, darn near looking like the Astoria Station rehabs. On May 6, 2024, Phase 3 of the Flushing Rehabilitation Project began. Queens-bound 7 trains now skip 82nd and 111th Streets, as the Flushing Main Street-bound side now receives repairs. The Manhattan-bound side is now good. So, 7 local trains going to Main Street will now skip those 2 stations. Some 7 trains will terminate at Met's Willis Point, and some will terminate at 103rd Street Corona Plaza as a result. 5th Avenue received platform screen fences on March 24th. This is one of 14 stations to have barrier fences equipped, which are listed here. In conclusion, the MTA was popping off in 2024 and early 2025. A firestorm of R211A deliveries, with consists being delivered to both 207th Street and South Brooklyn Railway now, 4400 series R211As being delivered and entering service, more R211s being approved from Option Order 2, the R211S pilot entering service, R179s at Jamaica and on Queens Boulevard, on the E, F, and M, and probably the R soon, and R68s returning to the G, with many more exciting developments yet to come. Credit to Brian Mercy, 1022, Media and Gaming, Orion 7s Forever, Nikitos, Trackwork, and many others who helped contribute to the information contained in this video, and for helping me keep track of the deliveries, transfers, and retirements. Credit to all the people who contributed in some way, shape, or form to the making of this video. Your hard work and effort is definitely appreciated. Thank you for tuning in to the Subway edition of Next Stop News. Please subscribe, stay blessed, stay healthy, stay hype, and thank you for riding with Next Stop News. Here's the featured photos section. Enjoy!